Ladies, let me tell you something, because a lot of people overlook this. We live in a world where folks are always talking about the big gestures, the flowers, the dinners, the vacations, the say it with diamonds moments. And yes, all of that is nice. Ain't nobody gonna turn that down. But let me drop a little wisdom right here. The real sign that a man is thinking about you more than you realize is when he remembers the little things. See, the little things, those are the moments that reveal where his heart really lives. Think about this. You're talking to him. Maybe you mention in passing that you pickles on your burger. Now, you might not even think about that twice. But the next time he brings you lunch, or you two stop at a drive-thru and suddenly your burger comes with no pickles. That man was paying attention. He didn't just hear your words, he filed them away. And he did that because you matter enough for him to keep track. That's not just casual listening. That's an investment of thought. When a man is into you, your voice becomes like a playlist stuck in his head. He's replaying conversations in his downtime, while he's driving, while he's at work, while he's hanging with the fellas. Something you said weeks ago pops back up in his mind. And the reason it sticks is because it came from you. Trust me, men don't hold on to details about everybody. If he's remembering that your grandma makes peach cobbler every Thanksgiving, or that you once said your dream vacation is Paris, it's because he's imagining ways to connect dots back to you. That's a man quietly building a blueprint of how to make you smile. Now let me break it down further. Men are not wired to be detail keepers in general. We're problem solvers. We want the headline, not the whole article. But when it comes to a woman we care about, suddenly the fine print matters. We remember the way you laughed at a joke nobody else found funny. We notice the color you always wear when you're feeling confident. We pick up on how you like your coffee, 2 creams, 1 sugar, and you don't even have to remind us. That is not by accident. That's because we're paying attention with intention. And here's what women need to understand. When a man remembers those little things, it means you've taken up real estate in his mind. He's reserving space for you up there, whether he says it or not. You may think it's small, but it's actually a huge sign of emotional investment. That's a man saying, I value what she says. I value who she is. I don't want to lose track of that. Let me give you a picture. You're telling him about how when you were a kid, you used to sit on the porch and eat popsicles with a cousin during the summer. You laugh about how simple it was back then. Now, months later, out of nowhere, he shows up with a box of your favorite popsicles. You didn't ask. You didn't hint. He just remembered. And in that moment, what he's telling you without words is, I was listening. You matter enough that even your childhood memories mean something to me. See, we live in a distracted age. Everybody's on their phone. Everybody's scrolling. Everybody's multitasking. It's hard enough to get someone's full attention for 5 minutes, let alone have them carry your words weeks down the line. So when a man does that, don't brush it off like it's nothing. That's not nothing. That's evidence. That's proof he's been sitting with you in his thoughts. He might not say, I'm thinking about you all the time, but his actions are showing it. And let's keep it real. Men are not detail-oriented about everything. You can ask a man what he wore last week, and he won't have a clue. But ask him about the outfit you wore on your first date, and he'll tell you exactly. Why? Because you mattered in that moment. You made an impression. It's not about memory, it's about emotion. What we care about, we keep. And when he's keeping track of about you, that's your sign. Now, here's the beautiful part. The little things build trust. Because when a man shows you he remembers, you start to feel safe. You start to know he's paying attention, not just nodding while his mind is elsewhere. And in relationships, that kind of attentiveness is everything. It tells you this man values me beyond the surface. He's listening not because he has to, but because he wants to. And that right there is rain once that you've got a big meeting coming up at work. You don't make a big deal out of it. You just casually drop it in conversation. But on the morning of that meeting, you get a text from him, good luck today, you got this. Now, how did he know? Because he remembered. And because he remembered, he was able to show up for you at the exact moment you needed encouragement. That is a man who is thinking about you beyond the time you spend together. And let me tell you something, when a man is truly into you, the little things he remembers often surprise even him. He'll catch himself bringing up something you said a long time ago, and he'll realize he's been carrying it around. That's because the things you share, even the small ones, have weight in his world. They're not just pieces of you. And he's holding on to them like treasures. Ladies, the truth is, the little things are the big things. You don't need a man to shout his feelings from the rooftop if he's already proving it by remembering your world. You don't need a new poetry if he's out here recalling the song you said was your favorite and playing it in the car for you. You don't need him to he's already bringing you moments that show he's locked in on who you are. And here's the kicker. The man who remembers the little things is showing you how he'll treat the big things. If he can hold on to your random Tuesday night conversation, imagine how much care he'll put remembering your dreams, your goals, your fears. The details are practice for the deeper investment. They're the small windows in a bigger truth. You are on his mind far more than you realize. So don't overlook it when he remembers your favorite snack or repeats back something you said in passing. Don't downplay it when he brings up a story you told months ago. That's not coincidence. That's commitment in disguise. That's a man telling you, you matter to me ways you don't even know. Ladies, let me be real with you. Men are not famous for being the most consistent communicators in the world. Most of us, if left to our own devices, are simple creatures. We text when we need something. We call when there's business to handle. We check in when it's necessary. That's the default setting for most men. So when you've got a man who is constantly reaching out to you, finding little reasons to call, text, or pop up in your life, that's not just casual behavior. That's not boredom. That's not him killing time. That's him showing you that you are on his mind more than you even realize. Think about it. If a man wakes up in the morning and before he even gets to work, he's sending you a message, "Good morning, hope you have a great day." That right there is intention. He could have rolled over, checked his phone, scrolled through social media, or gone straight to his emails. But instead, he took those first few moments of his day and gave them to you. That's not habit, that's care. That's a man saying, before I dive into the noise of the world, let me touch base with the person who's already in my thoughts. Now I know what some of y'all might be thinking. Well, maybe he's just being polite. No, men don't do polite texting. We don't send consistent, "How's your day going?" messages to people we don't think about. If he's reaching out during his lunch break just to tell you he saw something funny, or if he calls you on his drive home from work just to chat, that's his way of staying connected. That's his way of saying, you're on my mind when I'm in between everything else. And that is not casual, that's deliberate. Let me paint you a picture. A man is at work stressed, deadlines piling up, boss breathing down his neck. He's got every reason in the world to shut everything out. But in the middle of all that, takes a second to send you a quick message. Maybe a joke, maybe a check-in, maybe something simple like thinking of you. That's not just a text, that's a choice. That's him carving out a little pocket of time in the middle of chaos to let you know you're still in his head. You don't realize how big that is. And here's something women need to understand. Men are not great at multitasking emotionally. If we're focused on work, we're focused on work. If we're watching the game, we're locked in on the game. So if you are showing up in those in-between moments, if he pauses his day to check on you, if he hits you up while he's watching football, if he's calling while he's running errands, it's because you're important enough to break through his tunnel vision. You've taken priority in his thoughts. Another thing, men don't look for excuses to communicate with people they don't want to talk to. If he's sending you a meme, a video clip, or something that made him laugh, that's not about the meme, it's about you. He wants to share his world with you. He wants you to be part of his inside jokes. He wants to create threads of connection that keep you close, even when you're not together. That's not random, that's emotional investment. Have you ever had a man text you about something completely unnecessary? Like, he could have gone his whole day without telling you that he saw a commercial or that he just tried a new sandwich spot. But he sends it anyway. That's not about sandwiches. That's not about TV commercials. That's him saying, I thought of you, and I wanted you to know. It's his way of bridging the distance, even if the subject is small. Now let me get real with you. When a man is genuinely into you, reaching out becomes a habit he doesn't even have to think about. You start showing up in his routine. He checks his phone during the day not just to see if anybody called, but specifically to see if you texted. And when you didn't, he starts the conversation himself. Why? Because he's not comfortable with silence when it comes to you. He doesn't want too much time to go by without your voice, your words, your presence in his world. That's when you know you've gone from someone he talks to someone he thinks about constantly. And don't overlook the timing. If a man reaches out at night before bed, that's a major sign. Because right before we go to sleep, that's when our guard is down. That's when the day is over. And that's when our true thoughts come forward. If he's making you his last call or text of the night, he's letting you know you're the person on his mind when everything else quiets down. That's intimate. That's powerful. Here's another layer. Sometimes a man won't even realize how often he's reaching out. He'll just find himself picking up the phone, scrolling to your name, hitting call or send, without even planning. That's not conscious. It's instinct. That's when you know you've settled deep into his thoughts. You've become the person he gravitates toward it when he wants connection, when he wants to share, when he just wants to hear a voice that makes him feel good. And you know what's funny? Men will act like it's no big deal. He'll be like, yeah, I just thought I'd call. But trust me, that's a huge deal. Because for every man who is reaching out, there are 10 more who don't. So when you see that pattern, don't downplay it. Recognize it for what it is: effort. Consistent, intentional effort. I'll tell you something too. Sometimes reach outs aren't even about conversation. Sometimes it's just about presence. He might call and not have much to say, but he just wants you on the other end of the line. He just wants to hear your voice, your laugh, even your silence. That's not laziness, that's comfort. That's him finding reasons to keep you close because the thought of distance feels heavier than he wants to carry. And let's be honest, men aren't out here pouring time into people who don't matter to them. We're not wired that way. If he's investing time and energy into making sure you know you're on his mind, that's real. You don't even need him to say the words, "I'm thinking about you all the time," because his actions are shouting it louder. The truth is, when a man keeps finding reasons to reach out, it's his way of saying you've become part of his rhythm. He's not waiting for special occasions or perfect moments. He's just creating one call, one text, one silly meme at a time, and whether you realize it or not, that's love in motion. That's care in practice. That's a man telling you through his consistency, you are on my mind more than you know. When a man really thinks about you more than you realize, one of the strongest signs is how he starts weaving you into his world. See, a man's world is his safe zone. It's his circle, his grind, his family, his dreams, and his future. Men don't invite just anybody into that space. We keep it guarded because that's where our pride, our vulnerability, and our true selves live. So if a man is pulling you to that space, introducing you as people, sharing his plans, or letting you see the sides of him he doesn't show to everybody, that's not small. That's huge. That's him saying you're not just someone he likes, you're someone he envisions being a part of his life. You can tell when this shift happens. At first, most men will keep things light. He'll keep conversations on the surface. He'll stick to safe topics. He'll show you the polished version of himself. But when you notice he starts opening doors to deeper parts of his world, that's not random. That's intentional. That's because you're on his mind so much that it feels natural to bring you into the bigger picture. He's not just living his life anymore. He's imagining what that life looks like with you in it. Maybe it starts small. He invites you to meet his friends. Now, men don't just take women around their friends unless it means something. Why? Because friends see everything. Friends ask questions. Friends can tell if a man is serious or not. So when he brings you in that circle, he's showing you off in the best way he knows how. He's saying, this is her. This is the woman who's on my mind. And trust me, men don't take that step lightly. It's the same with family. When he starts introducing you to his mother, his sisters, his cousins, that's his world. That's his core. Men don't bring just anybody into that fold because family has a way of asking the real questions. Family sees past the charm, past the talk, past the surface. If he's comfortable letting them meet you, it's because you've already become important enough that he's willing to let his two worlds collide, his personal world and his world with you. And it doesn't stop at introductions. You'll notice he starts telling you about his goals and dreams. Not just, I want to get a promotion, or I want to buy a car, but the bigger stuff, where he wants to live one day, what kind of future he wants to build, what he's afraid of, what keeps him up at night. See, men don't share their vulnerabilities with everybody. We like to act like we've got it all together, like we're in control. But when he's letting you in on the parts he doesn't show the world, that's a man who is thinking of you as more than temporary. That's a man saying, I can trust you with the real me. It's also in the way he starts planning. Maybe he talks about a trip he wants to take and says, we should go there. Notice that word. Men don't throw that around casually. If he's picturing you in his vacations, in his plans for the weekend, or in the vision he has for his future, that's his way of telling you you're not just in his present, you're in his tomorrow. That's how you know you're on his mind when he's thinking ahead. And let me break something down here. Men are territorial about their space. Our hobbies, our hangouts, our routines, that's our safe ground. If he invites you into those spaces, he's letting you see a side of him he doesn't show everybody. If he takes you to his favorite spot to relax, introduces you to his barber, shows you where he grew up, that's not just sightseeing. That's him saying, I want you to understand me. I want you to know where I come from, what matters to me, what shaped me. That's a deeper connection than just dating on the surface. Here's another sign when he starts involving you in his decisions. He might ask your opinion on things he never used to bring up with anyone else. Maybe it's about his job. Maybe it's about money. Maybe it's about life choices. That's not small talk. That's him valuing your perspective because he's thinking about you as part of his world. He doesn't want to make moves without considering how you might fit into them. That's not just him respecting your opinion. That's him seeing you as a partner. Ladies, men are planners in a quiet way. Even if we don't map out every detail, we always think about our next steps. When a man is serious about you, those steps stop being just about him. He starts using words like enos. He starts including you in the picture he's painting for himself. That's not for everybody. That's only for the woman who's in his mind constantly. Let's be clear, a man may have a whole bunch of acquaintances, a whole bunch of casual relationships, but he won't bring those people into his world. He'll keep them on the surface in the margins. The one he thinks about, the one he can't stop imagining in his space, that's the one who gets the invitation. When he starts making room for you in his daily life, when he's letting you meet the people who matter most to him, when he's sharing his hopes and fears, that's his way of saying, you're more than just a thought. You're part of me now. I'll give you an example. Let's say just sitting around talking, and he starts telling you about where he sees himself in 5 years. And in that picture, you're there. He's saying, I want to go to house, and I can imagine us decorating it. Or one day, I'd love to take a trip to Italy. You'd love it there. That's not random. That's not filler conversation. That's his subconscious showing you that when he dreams with you in it. That's how deep you've gotten into his thoughts. Or maybe you're with him when he runs into an old friend, and without hesitation, he introduces you as if you're already part of his story. He doesn't stumble. He doesn't hesitate. He's proud to have you by his side. That's not just a sign of affection. That's a sign that he's already claimed you in his mind as someone who belongs in his world. And let's not forget, men are protective of what matters to them. If he's pulling you into his world, that means he sees you as someone worth protecting, worth including, worth trusting. He doesn't have to announce it. You'll see it in the way he makes sure you feel comfortable around his people, the way he checks in to see how you're adjusting to his environment, the way he goes out of his way to make you feel like you belong. That's a man showing you that you're not just a visitor, you're home in his world. All of this boils down to one truth: men don't bring just anyone into their lives. If he's letting you meet his family, sharing his future dreams, asking for your input, showing you the places and people that matter most to him, that's because you're already living rent-free in his head. You're part of the mental picture he carries with him day and night. And when a man starts blending you to his world like that, it's not just affection. It's proof that you're on his mind in ways you don't even see. When it comes down to it, you can listen to a man talk all day, but the truth about how he feels is always in his actions. Words are easy. Anybody can say, I miss you, or I'm thinking about you. But a man who's really carrying you in his heart, a man who has you on his mind more than you realize, will show you you're not good enough. Actions don't lie. They're the clearest window into what's going on inside of him. If you want to know whether a man is thinking about you, watch what he does when you're not around, when he doesn't have to, when nobody else is watching. That's when the truth shows up. Think about this. A man can be busy, tired, or even stressed, but if he's still making the effort to check on you, that's an action that speaks louder than any words he could say. He could come home from a long day, kick off his shoes, crash on the couch, but instead he picks up the phone and calls you. Not because he had to, not because you asked him to, but because you crossed his mind and he wanted to hear your voice. That's proof that he's thinking about you, even when the world is pulling him in every other direction. Men aren't always good at expressing feelings directly. Struggle to say exactly what we mean. But we will show you. You'll see it in the way he remembers the important dates without being reminded, the way he makes time even when he swears he has none, the way he drives across town just to see you for a few minutes. That's not obligation, that's choice. That's a man putting his feelings into motion. Take a simple example. You mention your car is acting up. You didn't ask him to fix it. You didn't demand his help. But the next thing you know, he's outside checking under the hood, or he's calling his guy to get it looked at. That's not about the car. That's about you. That's about him showing you that when something's bothering you, it bothers him too. His way of saying, I've been thinking about you, is to do something about the things that affect your life. Or let's say you've had a tough day. You didn't make a big announcement, but he picks up on it. And instead of ignoring it, he shows up with your favorite snack, or he runs a bath for you, or he just sits with you and listens. That right there is love in action. He might not say the perfect words, but his behavior is his love letter. That's him turning thought into action. Actions also show up in sacrifice. Watch how a man prioritizes his time. We all have the same 24 hours. But when he's giving you part of his, when he's carving out time to be with you, even when his schedule is full, that's a clear sign. He could be doing 100 other things, but he's choosing you. That's because you're on his mind in a way that makes you worth rearranging his world for. And here's something else. Men reveal their feelings in the way they protect. Not just physical protection, but emotional, mental, spiritual. If he's checking in to make sure you got home safe, if he's standing up for you when someone disrespects you, if he's thinking ahead to prevent you from being uncomfortable in a situation, that's not just instinct, that's his thoughts about you spilling over into his behavior. He's not just thinking, she'll be all right. He's thinking, I've got to make sure she's all right. A consistency is another big action. Any man can do something sweet once in a while, but the man who is thinking about you constantly shows it through repeated effort. He doesn't just surprise you once and disappear. He doesn't just call one night and then go silent for weeks. No, he builds patterns of care. He shows up again and again in small and big ways because you're not just a fleeting thought in his mind. You're a permanent presence. It's also in the way he notices what you need before you even ask. Maybe you're cold, and without thinking, he hands you his jacket. Maybe you're carrying too many bags, and he grabs them before you can say a word. Maybe he knows you've got an exam or a big presentation coming up, and he brings you coffee without you mentioning it. Those are not random gestures. Those are the actions of a man whose mind is tuned to you, whose thoughts are wrapped around your well-being. Let me tell you something important. A man who is really thinking about you doesn't just act when it's convenient. He acts even when it costs him something. If he drives an hour just to spend 30 minutes with you, that's not because he had nothing better to do. That's because the thought of seeing you outweighed everything else. If he gives up part of his weekend to help you with something, that's not obligation. That's fueled by affection. His actions are proof that you're taking up space in his thoughts, not just occasionally, but consistently. And sometimes actions are subtle. You might not even notice them right away. Maybe he always positions himself on the side of the sidewalk closest to the street when you're walking together. Maybe he remembers to check the locks at night because you mentioned once that you get nervous about safety. Maybe he changes small habits because he knows it makes you more comfortable. Those little adjustments may not come with a speech, but they're his way of saying, I think about you enough to change how I move. Don't overlook how a man invests in your happiness. When he goes out of his way to make you laugh, to ease your stress, to celebrate your wins, That's action speaking louder than words. He could sit back and say, "Congrats," but instead he shows up with a cake, or he toasts you with a smile, or he brags about you to other people. That's a man who isn't just casually involved, he's deeply invested. And let me be honest, actions often reveal things men don't admit out loud. We may hold back the words, "I love you," or "I can't stop thinking about you," but we'll show it by fixing, supporting, showing up, remembering, sacrificing. Those actions are our way of letting the truth slip through. You might not hear it, but you'll see it. The bottom line is this: you'll know a man is thinking about you more than you realize when his actions keep proving it, when his choices reflect you, when his time, his effort, his sacrifices, and his attention all point back to you. Words might make you smile, but actions are the evidence. Actions are the receipts. They tell you that when he's not with you, he's still carrying you in his mind and showing with the way he moves in the world.